From the station that made country music famous, 650 AM WSM, this is a Coffee, Country, and Cody podcast. Hi, it's Charlie Mattos, and in this episode we sit down with John Oates, 2014 class of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, as a member of Hall & Oates. John had just played the Opry at the Ryman. He was getting set for a gig at the Station Inn. He would also be a part of a great benefit for Pete's sake, in the memory of Pete Huttlinger. A lot of great stuff to talk about, and great music as well, with Rock and Roll Hall of Famer John Oates.
Arkansas, snow white cotton fields. That is John Oates, and this is 650 AM WSM. You were feeling that, brother, huh?
It's been an exciting 2 years behind that record, and the amazing band that I was able to assemble for it, and who I'm pulling them all back together at the Station Inn this Thursday night. So, yeah, it's going to be cool.
That Station Inn on Thursday, 9 o'clock. John Oates will be there, and then he's got an event coming up on the 19th, and we're going to talk more in depth about that. But Kathy Mattea's name has been added to the list of talent that includes John Oates. For Pete Huttlinger, for Pete's sake, January 19th, it's happening at the City Winery with our 2014 Rock and Roll Hall of Fame friend, John Oates, who is in studio this morning. And this benefits, and I was pulling it up earlier so I would get it right. If Aaron is listening, his wife is listening this morning, this is the Pete Huttlinger Fund for Adult Congenital Cardiac Research at Vanderbilt University Medical Center.
It's a mouthful, but worth every syllable.
Absolutely.
Aww,
and you had become great friends.
Yes, we met in Nashville, but also in Colorado, where I was living right before I moved to Nashville. And Pete and I bonded immediately. I was just such a fan of his incredibly amazing guitar playing. And he and I started playing together. We started doing two-man shows, and it was just a joy. I mean, and when he had... his when he had a stroke, and the way he came back was just miraculous. And then we went out and played some shows together, and for a number of years actually, and it was great. So I'm just thrilled and honored to be part of it. And Aaron's assembled a bunch of serious guitar slingers, so I got to make sure I'm on my game there.
His child bride, who I know is listening this morning. This is 650 AM WSM, and Jo Smith. Joe, you picked out the opening selection.
I did. That
Arkansas.
was my request.
And why? What were you doing just hours ago? You said listening to it?
Well, it was, yes, I was on the elliptical, and I was listening to the album Arkansas, and the song, the title track, Arkansas, because, I tend to like those state name songs and place-inspired songs, and it was great, and I related, and cotton fields, and I love that.
Thank you.
It was great. Really
Would you write one called Rhode Island? We feel so left out.
I know,
we're so
Charlie.
small.
Doesn't quite roll off the tongue.
It doesn't, unfortunately.
I'll give it a shot.
Oh, God.
I'd love you to play something live this morning on that Guild guitar you've got in your hands.
Not only is it a Guild guitar, but it's a very special Guild guitar. This is Mississippi John Hurt's original guitar.
Oh, wow.
And I brought it out today because I thought you might enjoy it.
1963.
When he played the Newport Folk Festival, and he was rediscovered during the folk revival. They brought him to New York. He didn't have a guitar, and they took him to a shop in Greenwich Village, and this is the guitar he picked, which he played in 1964. And then subsequently, after he passed away, it was given to my guitar teacher in Philadelphia, who spent a lot of time with him, and I played this guitar on the first two Hall & Oates albums.
Oh.
And here's what it would have sounded like in his hands first, before John played.
From Newport, 1963.
Yeah, you guys are on it.
Easy John was no angel there. He told his fireman to not go there.
So John Oates with that setup, that guitar in real life, all over the country on Circle Television and all over the world at WSMOnline.com.
Gotta play a Mississippi John Hurt song, of course, right? This is kind of my version of his version of Spike Driver Blues. Still driving man name's John Henry.
Rock and Roll Hall of Famer John Oates on 650 AM WSM's Coffee, Country, and Cody, and you got to watch that this morning. I'm so proud, on Circle Television all over the country. If you go to our website, WSMOnline.com, type in your zip, it'll tell you the affiliate in your market area. And Mississippi John Smith Hurt, taught himself to play the guitar, self-taught at age 9. And the guitar that you just heard played by John Oates. It's got a little wear and tear on it. It's like got a split down the body of the guitar there.
I'm not touching it. Whatever mojo it's got, that's where we're going to keep it.
Spike Driver Blues goes back to 1928.
You know, there's been obviously a lot of versions of that John Henry story. You know, But I was such a Mississippi John Hurt fan. I saw him, got to see him perform when I was, in the early '60s at Philadelphia Folk Festival where I was living, and the album Arkansas was actually inspired by Mississippi John Hurt. So there's a bunch of Mississippi John Hurt stuff on that album, and then of course I played it with a band which took the music to another place. But really, that's how the album started, and then it kind of evolved from there. So,
Joe, I just see you sitting there grinning from ear to ear.
I'm just enjoying the heck out of this, and I'm as an artist, like I'm thinking of the evolution of records, and I love. One thing that I miss. I could just go on and on. So I grew up with Hall & Oates. My dad's favorite song of all time is Sarah Smile. So you're a huge influence on me. And the moment I decided I wanted to be an artist was holding vinyl, Hall & Oates, Chicago records in my hand. And I just noticed, and
Welcome back to Coffee, Country, and Cody. It's 9:30 in Nashville, Tennessee, and in studio, Rock and Roll Hall of Famer John Oates, class of 2014 with Hall & Oates. Jo Smith, a girl named Jo, Charlie Mattos. I'm Bill Cody. And John is off to play the station in at 9 o'clock on Thursday night of this week, and then he will be playing on the 19th. About 10 days later, he will be playing the third annual For Pete's Sake event, and that is for the late Pete Huttlinger and Vanderbilt University cardiology research that they do there with Pete's name attached to it, certainly. It's the Pete Huttlinger Fund for Adult Congenital Cardiac Research at Vanderbilt. And joining to celebrate Pete's life, John will be there, the Good Road Band, Rob Ikes and Trey Hensley, Guthrie Trapp, the Long Players, Tom Paxton, John Vesner, Kathy Mattea, a long list of talent. That doors at 5, that music starts at 7 o'clock.
You were at the Ryman this past Saturday for the Grand Ole Opry. Now, I know you and Daryl have played it as Hall & Oates.
We have played it, and I've had a chance to play it solo as well. Any chance I have to play the Opry at the Ryman is just really a special moment, and got to play with Sam Bush and Guthrie Trapp and the great house band, so it was wonderful.
As Hall & Oates, what was the first professional paying gig the two of you did? Where was it?
Well, when we first started out, we played coffee houses and art galleries in the little hippie neighborhoods of Philadelphia. So I remember once we played this art gallery, and we put a little bucket out there for some money, and the only problem was the only people that showed up were our neighbors. Who lived on the same street as us, so it was kind of weird, and no one gave us any money. So we might have got $1 or something, but the hippies didn't have a lot to spread around in those days. We got some other stuff in the bucket that wasn't money, but
that was money.
That was welcome too, though.
Well, so how old were you? How old would you have been at that time?
Oh, it was probably 20, something like that. 21,
wow.
Maybe.
For as big a city as Philadelphia is, it's still a great walking town, isn't it? I mean, you can walk a lot of that city.
It's a big little city.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Well, with your Mississippi John Hurt Guild guitar in your hands, play us something else this morning on WSM.
I've been my whole thing here in Nashville ever since I got here was to go back to my earliest days of music and rediscover a lot about myself, musically and whatever, and with the help of so many great musicians. And in 1958, the first song I ever played on guitar and sang at the same time when I was just learning to play the guitar was a Don Gibson song. And
I adored Don Gibson.
So the other day at the Ryman, I decided to play the Don Gibson song, and to kind of commemorate that. So I guess I'll just do that one. Let's see. Everybody's going out and having fun. I'm just a fool for staying home and having none. Can't get over how she set me free. Oh, lonesome me. Bad mistake I'm making by just hanging around.
That's Hall of Famer John Oates. Isn't it interesting? A rock and roll Hall of Famer and play and sing a song from a country music Hall of Famer like that.
You know what?
That's why they call it music, isn't it?
That's right. And in those days, it was I only had 3 chords, so it worked out perfectly.
You're on 650 AM WSM and watching on Circle Television this morning.
Officer, now how can that be? You can arrest everybody, but you afraid of Stagger Lee.
That's John Oates, and that's what a song from 1923 will do. Yes, it will be. It's timeless, is what it is. And it will do.
It's a good song.
What you just heard, and 9 o'clock at the station in on Thursday night. And what were you saying about the band that was playing
the
on
band
that
that you just heard on that Arkansas album? I've managed to assemble everybody, the same guys that actually recorded it with me. So if I could do a really quick shout out, Guthrie Trapp on guitar, Steve Mackey on bass, Josh Day on drums, Russ Paul on pedal steel, Nat Smith, who plays with Casey Musgrave, on cello. I pulled him away for a day. And Sam Bush is going to make an appearance, and Jim Lauderdale's going to come up and guest as well. So it's going to be an amazing
Whoa.
And we're streaming it live, too.
That's John Oates, this Thursday night, Station N.
Coffee, country, and Cody.
Pete Huttlinger's incredible finger-picking style. Watch Pete Huttlinger play, and you would go, I know I'm hearing all that.
But where's it coming from?
But it doesn't seem possible that just 10 fingers can do all that on a guitar, but they could in his hands. Mm-hmm. And the benefit that John Oates, our special guest and Rock and Roll Hall of Famer, is playing is January 19th. That's for Pete's sake, January 19th, City Winery. And this is for research at Vanderbilt University in Pete's name, for the Pete Huttlinger Fund for Adult Congenital Cardiac Research at Vanderbilt University Medical Center. Between now and then, you heard him earlier talking about Thursday night this week, 9 o'clock at the Station Inn.
Yeah, Station Inn. I am doing an interview in a little while with Southbound Magazine, and they're going to ask me what my favorite venue in Nashville is. And spoiler alert, I'm going to say Station Inn. Have you played there before?
Yes. In fact, one of the reasons we're playing there with this Thursday is because it's kind of where this band started. This Good
really?
Road band started a couple of years ago. We started playing our first shows there, so I wanted to kind of bring it all back.
Yeah, no, I love the Ryman, of course. I mean, the Ryman is its own category, but like other venues in Nashville, I always send people there. I love the vibe. And
so I'll be seeing you in the front row on Thursday.
You
night,
will.
right?
You
okay.
will. I'm committed. I'm committing
so
to
does
it right now.
the band have a name, John?
It's called the Good Road Band.
Oh, okay. Mm-hmm. So that's them. All right, because I saw them on the lineup. I didn't know it was John Oates and the Good Road Band will be performing.
For those of you watching on Circle who may have never been to the Station Inn, it used to be this lonely little place down in the Gulch, and now a world has grown up all around it.
A world has grown up
almost
around
on top of it.
But I'm sure glad it's still there.
Me too.
Yeah. It's hanging in there. I love it.
As we close this morning, John, writer-producer falls into this next category we're going to feature as we close, in a song from Beauty and Rain, which is
Beauty and Ruin.
A ruin, but the album has not been released.
The album's coming out shortly, but there's a single called Road to Jubilee. It's David Starr is the artist, and it's I'll tell you a real quick story. His grandfather wrote a book in the early 70s, and it's a story about Arkansas, about kind of a really tragic love story, and set in the Arkansas countryside. Mm-hmm. And his grandfather wrote a book, and David came up with the idea. He said to me, why don't you read my grandfather's book and see if it elicits and evokes any song ideas. So we sent the book out to various songwriters around Nashville and had them all read the book, and some people kind of literally pulled some stuff from the book. Some people just said emotionally, hey, this is what I feel. So it's based on his grandfather's book, and it's a beautiful record, and obviously some great playing and some good songs, and David Starr is a cool dude.
Well, this album, once What's the release date on the album?
I think it's coming pretty soon, probably in February.
Because I see Irene Kelly and I see Wood Newton, and I see on this particular song, you and Jim Lauderdale.
David Starr, Jim Lauderdale, and I wrote this one. When I saw the phrase "Road to Jubilee" in that book, I said, "I got that one." I put my stamp on that one.
Yes, you do. Mm-hmm. That's John Oates. Thank you for coming in this morning.
Thanks, guys. Pleasure.
And for Thursday night at the Station Inn, but certainly for continuing to support Pete Huntlinger, even though he's gone, we still remember him and love him. And Aaron, good morning. We love you. Third annual For Pete's Sake, January 19th at City Winery. 5 o'clock doors, 7 o'clock showtime.
That's the beauty of producing the record, John, right? You get the song you want.
Well,
now I dream about the big house by the side of Laurel Creek. We're sitting there in a rocking chairs with the children at our feet. We've got a dog called Music and a mule to ride to town. That's all I ever wanted.
Thanks for listening to our Coffee, Country, and Cody podcast. Our digital program director is Jay Patrick. Our digital producer is Haley Hall. Marketing and promotions director, Nicole A. Judd. General manager of 650 AM WSM is Chris Kulik. I'm Charlie Mattos. We'll see you next time on our Coffee, Country, and Cody podcast.